Well, last time I left you at the Varanasi train station, so today it's time to head a little further into the city. The air here is thick with smog and the occasional kite. The streets are thick with people. They're already quite narrow here. The further we get closer to the river, the closer we get to the river, the smaller the streets are going to get until we get to the river finally, and then we'll have the wide open river in front of us. And even though the streets are going to get smaller, the amount of people on them is not going to decrease. They're only getting more and more crowded the closer we get. So let's mentally prepare to get bumped into a lot. I told you the streets would get narrower and more crowded as we go along. Now Varanasi is not just a city of the Hindu faith. You can find shrines of almost any religion you can imagine around here. Jainism, Islam, there are several mosques, and even Saint Thomas from the Christian faith, he preached here in this city. And there's a temple dedicated to him. And then it is also a place where Buddha preached. So even for Buddhists, this is a holy site. And in fact, I met a big group of monks from Thailand who were on a big pilgrimage on foot to many of the sites where Buddha was born, where Buddha died, where Buddha was enlightened, and where Buddha teaches his teachings. And that is just south of Varanasi in a place called Sarnath. Now down here it is very crowded. Once you get to the rooftop, the view is very different. You can't see it from here. So I have some footage. Many people are flying kites on the roof. This kid is trying to get his kite back down from the street level. And when you're walking here, many times your feet will also get stuck in a piece of kite string has been abandoned. Maybe it broke off. Your feet will get stuck in it and you drag it along for quite a while until you notice. Happens a lot here in Varanasi. And just up there ahead I noticed an alleyway that seems primarily dedicated to plastic saris. When you want to decorate something in flowers, but you don't want them to spoil like regular flowers, you get one of these and they'll last forever. Even if you throw them away, they'll be around somewhere in the trash for a very long time. Sparkly ones, plain orange ones that still look a bit like real flowers, and then there's green ones. I've never seen green flowers, so they don't look very authentic. These do. These definitely look like real flowers over here. Very colorful though, this alley. Now this tiny alleyway over here is where people get their kites. They stuck them, whole shops full of them, plus the kite strings that litter all the streets and the riverbanks over here. Most of them come from here, although I think many kids also make them themselves. I'm sure they're capable of that. These ones, these people, they're buying them out here, shopping for kites. Big business out here in Varanasi. And when you see the rooftops, you can definitely guess why. Now, among Hindus, it is believed that if your body is burned in Varanasi and your ashes are put in the Ganges, you escape reincarnation, you escape the suffering of life. So many Hindus want to be cremated and spread here in Varanasi. And just up there, let's see one of the bodies being carried towards its final destination, the ghats of Varanasi, where people are cremated, washed in the Ganges, and then spread in the Ganges River. All of the streets around Varanasi are unfortunately thinly crusted in the excrement of almost every mammal. Yes, almost every mammal that you can imagine that lives under the sun. So Every time I walk around these streets and I'm filming, I'm really risking my shoes because there's really a lot of feces, all kinds of feces laying around the streets over here. It's a really disgusting place in a way. Really something you have to get through to admire its beauty that it also definitely has. It's a struggle walking around here, living here, visiting here even. Now we are very nearly at the riverside, at the ghats, and the streets are about as narrow as they get over here. It doesn't stop people from trying to come through on a scooter though. Many of the walls in this area are wonderfully painted. Here you can see the ghats as seen from the river. A bit stylized, but this is a bit what they look like. We'll see in a moment. Should be just over that way. Should find some stairway down to the riverside over there. And then suddenly the crusted streets where you have no view suddenly give way to the first glimpse of the riverside. Let's cross these very dirty stairs and head down there. This little tunnel. There in the distance you can see the water of the Ganges flowing. The Ganges is one of the most polluted rivers in the world, but also the most sacred one here in India. Now that we've got a bit of a clear view again, because the city gave way to the river, we can also see just how polluted the air is around here. We can barely see the other side. It's just 100 meters across, I would guess, just an estimate, but it's not going to be much more than that. And over there the city just disappears into a thick haze. You cannot see very far along the riverside, even though the city stretches a long distance that way. And my estimate would be about 10 kilometers, because Sarnath, the holy place of Buddhism, is about 10 kilometers that way. You can barely see. 2 kilometers maybe, 1.5, not much more. Luckily there's beauty here too, beautiful buildings on the banks of the Ganges. And this pool, even though it looks, to my Western eyes, it looks very disgusting, but it's actually a very sacred pool. Shiva and his wife, I forgot the name of his wife, they bathed here, but I'm sure the water was a little bit nicer when they did, because otherwise they probably wouldn't have gone in. But still people go down in the mud to bathe in the same water, or rather the same mud as Shiva did. Look at that, this structure sunk down a little bit into the mud of the banks of the Ganges. And over there you can see, even though this is one of the dirtiest, one of the most polluted rivers in the world, people want to bathe not just in the pool up there, but in the rivers here. And finally, over there, amidst the smoke, you can see a few smokestacks. This is where people come to escape the cycle of reincarnation, where they are burned and deposed into the river Ganges. The air we breathe here is not just fossil fuel, it's also the final remains of people who've come here, who've been carried here, one of whom we saw on the streets earlier. Finally we come to the ghat here of Manikarnika, where the wood is piled up high to help people escape the cycle of reincarnation. A good place as ever to end this video on the banks of the Ganges River. If you enjoyed this trip, maybe you're a little glad that you didn't have to walk through these filthy streets yourself. You could just watch the video instead. Hope to see you next time for the next video.